Hi, this is Alex from phpacademy.org with a video tutorial for the new Boston. In this tutorial we're going to be looking at the removeClass attribute in jQuery. Now in the last video we looked at the addClass attribute, however in this example we're going to create something slightly different and a bit more fun to demonstrate the removeClass. Now addClass and removeClass can take an unlimited amount of classes to be removed or added. So for example, in the last part we looked at adding a class using addClass, and then we specified a class name, for example bold. If you had another class, for example underlined, you could also supply this as well. Now when you're using removeClass you can do exactly the same thing. Now we're not going to be demonstrating multiple classes in this tutorial, however what we are going to be doing is creating something a bit more dynamic, and we're going to do that using the event handler toggle. So let's go ahead and create a span, and I'm going to give this an ID of some text, and I'm just going to write this is some text. Okay, so now if we go over to our browser you can see that we've got this is some text. What I want to happen is when we click on this I want the text to be highlighted or underlined. It doesn't really matter what we do, but when we click on it I want a class to be added to it. Okay, so let's go over to class.js where we have our code. In fact, no, let's first of all go over to style.css and create this class. So I'm going to create the class highlight, and inside I'm going to say background yellow. So what this will do is once I apply this class to the text here, it'll essentially highlight it. Let's just demonstrate that now. And when we go over to our browser you can see that the text has been highlighted. So we're going to use the addClass and the removeClass attributes in sequence using the toggle event handler once we click on this span, and then that's going to highlight and then unhighlight. So some practical use there as well as just being an example. Okay, so we've got our highlight class in style.css. Now let's go ahead and create our toggle event handler. So we need to reference the some text span, so I'm just going to write some text and then say dot toggle. Now inside of here we can specify two different functions to be used in sequence with each other. So we can either create these inside of this parentheses, or we can create functions outside and then reference these inside. For now, just to get the hang of things, we'll create them inside. So I've created the function outline, or defined the function, and I have my block here. The second parameter, we're creating another function, and we're just going to pull these down so we can work a bit easier. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is for it to actually highlight the text. So we're going to use an example as we used in the previous tutorial, but with bold, but we're actually going to apply the highlight class to some text. So dot add class once we've referenced the text here, and inside of that we specify the class itself, so which is highlight. We've named the class highlight in our CSS file. Now what I'm going to do is do exactly the same thing. Again, I'm going to reference some text, but this time I'm going to remove the class, and in there specify the class I want to remove, which is highlight. Now like I said before, you can specify to add or remove multiple classes, so you could go ahead and specify a bold or an underlined in here, or any class that you've created. So now what's going to happen is when we click on the text, it's going to toggle using the toggle event handler, and we're going to first of all add the class highlight, which will add this background yellow to that text as I showed you earlier in the browser. What we're then going to do is next time we press it, we're going to actually remove this class. So we're essentially just selecting something or highlighting something on a page. So we'll go ahead and refresh the page. When I click on this now, you can see that it highlights. When I click on it again, you can see that the highlight disappears. Now let's go ahead and add some additional classes. So I'm going to say bold, and in here I'm going to choose font weight bold. So now what I can do is when I click on it, I might want to also add boldness to it. So when I refresh, when I click on it, you can see that it's been highlighted and now it's bold. Now what's going to happen here is, because we're only removing the highlight class, we are keeping the bold class added to this text. So when we click it, you can see that the text remains bold but the highlight disappears. So now we're stuck with bold text. So you can supply additional classes that you want to add or remove. We could go ahead and remove bold as well. So now it will go bold and highlighted and then back to normal. So add class and remove class take an unlimited amount of classes that you can add or remove to them, and can obviously be used for a large number of HTML elements.